Okay, welcome to the UT Sports Blog one and only podcast episode. I'm Alyssa Janeway, and this is my special guest, Spencer. Please introduce yourself.
What's up? I'm Spencer Porter. Excited to be on this podcast with Alyssa from Ogden, Utah, and been at Utah Tech. This is my fourth semester, but it's been a lot of fun. And yes, definitely been able to cover Utah Tech athletics a little bit, which has been a blast.
Okay, tell us about your experience calling the games throughout this semester. Is this your first time doing it?
Yeah, this semester. So with the college radio station, 91.3 The Blaze, we say that a lot. We've been calling, because it began this semester, we called the men's, women's basketball games because that conference season starts like the last week of December all the way till the end of February, early March. So we called a ton of those games, which was a lot of fun. We were able to be inside the Burns Arena, have like our own little booth, our own little spot, and see the game, broadcast it live. And then for the road games, we usually were in the studio watching it on the monitor, but still calling it. And it was still a lot of fun, even though definitely harder to see what's going on just on the computer instead of there live. But it was a great experience, great practice. And now, because basketball's over, we've been able to do a little bit of baseball and softball. They usually play on the weekends, so it's not, there's not a lot going on in the weekdays, but the weekends we've been able to call some of those games, which has also been a blast and kind of a learning curve, different sport, but still good fun.
Okay, and then how did you get into that? How did you start out doing that?
Pretty much my professor, Sean, he mentioned that the radio station calls the games, and that's something that they've done in the past. He wanted to implement again. And so I expressed interest, and at least in this semester, not a lot of others did. And I just got that hands-on experience. That's what the college radio station offers is, maybe we're not very good or have no experience, but that's, why we're here to get that hands-on experience. We don't have to wait till we're graduated, till we're a senior to finally touch all the buttons or talk in a microphone.
And unique thing about Spencer and I'm pretty sure we're the only two students here with the emphasis in broadcasting.
I think that's true because it's not allowed anymore.
Yeah, so good for us. So for your interest in broadcasting, is your interest centered around basketball? Is it interested around sports? Or do you have a broader path that you're going towards?
Definitely sports broadcasting. I love basketball, but in my scenario, when you're just they call it a play-by-play, you're just commenting what's going on. I'm not an expert, meaning I'm not a retired professional player or coach of a certain sport. So, for my role, it would be, they call it the play-by-play. You say what's going on during the game, and then your partner or the color provides extra detail, maybe more expertise because they were a professional player in that sport or coach, et cetera.
Did you play any sports in high school?
Yeah, I played basketball all my life. I played on the golf team for a year because my dad's best friend was the head coach, so that was just an opportunity to get free golf, free green fees. I mean, there's no way I was actually going to compete in varsity. That was just more a business decision for the future. But I played basketball my whole life and football in high school, and so that's just been a blast, and my family as well. I've always been just focused on sports. My sister played college basketball, so watching or playing, I just love it.
Okay, well, getting into that, like your sister playing college ball, my whole website is about the difference in our men's team and our women's team, specifically basketball. So I noticed a significant difference in the attention that our men's and our women's team gets. And so calling the games, can you kind of comment on the difference between the crowd at the games?
Yeah, I mean, usually for the men's games, there is a bigger crowd. Something I also notice is the game time. The men never play in the afternoon. It usually was a Thursday, Saturday conference schedule. So if the men had a home game on Saturday, it was Saturday night, 7 o'clock, prime time. A lot of times if the woman played a home game on Saturday, it was at 2 o'clock start, so the middle of the day. And some weeks I think it was definitely kind of just something skipped over, not really focused on because it's the middle of the day on Saturday. You could do so many other things. But, I mean, stats-wise, attendance-wise, throughout the whole nation, there's a few schools that there is a difference, like maybe UConn women's basketball or those amazing women's basketball schools that might have the same attendance at games or better. But in this case, the men had a lot more attendance. And if you want to jump to a conclusion, well, maybe the men were better. Well, record-wise, wasn't true, as the women, I believe, took 5th place, and Utah Tech was an 11th place in men's basketball.
I did not know that. I know just some of my records I have here are home attendance total for the men's games was 21,332, and our home attendance for the women's total was 7,546. So about a third in comparison. Why are we, do you think, more interested in a team who doesn't have the greatest record? Like, why do you think we're more likely to attend the men's games when we're less likely to win?
It's a good question, and I think athletic directors and probably, parents of women basketball players or, just women basketball coaching staff wonders all of this. I think a lot of it comes down to is the honest truth that in collegiate basketball, there's more flashy, more athletic plays that go on in men's basketball with dunks. Yes, like Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker have dunked it in college basketball games or in professional basketball games in the past. But you almost have the promise that there's going to be a dunk in every men's basketball game, multiple alley-oops, just flashy passes, a lot quicker movements, and probably more extracurricular, unsportsmanlike, kind of chippier trash talk, or maybe shoving, maybe a punch thrown, which is rare, but you get more of that action. And with women's basketball, it's kind of, they get dissed at because they shoot layups instead of dunking or, fadeaways or tougher shots, which that gets blown out of proportion. But the part that is right is the dunks, because it just is rare or never happens for a women's basketball team, depending on their roster.
Yeah, and I agree. I do think it is more entertaining. I mean, I found myself more likely to go to the men's games, and just the hype of the crowd was more fun. I did this little experiment. I went to both games, a women's game at 2 p.m. and I went to the men's game at 7 p.m. And the significant change in the energy was just so much more fun at the men's game, and it was so much more entertaining, and everyone was dressed up for the theme of the game, and it was just more of a, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like the whole town was there, and it was like a community. But at the women's game, there were like 6 people in the student section, and it just didn't seem as fun, if you know what I mean. And I mean, the women's team won and the men's team lost, but it's still, everyone went home feeling, I feel like they were more satisfied after the men's game, which is kind of disappointing, but is the whole point I'm trying to bring with this site.
Well, yeah, that's really how it has been. I mean, a lot of people focus more on men's sports. The most recent NBA champion was Golden State Warriors. UConn Huskies won men's basketball on the women's side of things. LSU women's basketball won it all. And the most recent champions are the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA. So basketball fans may know those things, but it's possible that, it's mocked or not known, the women's side of who won those games.
Do better. That's all I got to say. But thank you, Spencer, for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it, for your wonderful insight. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, you're welcome. I hope it actually helps things I say. Just from watching sports all my life, I think women's basketball gets, a lot of hate compared to its counterpartner in men's basketball. I personally think college softball is more even with college baseball or more entertaining. My argument is you can follow the softball better. When someone hits a softball, it's easier to see it in the sky than a little baseball. It's hard to follow the ball exactly. But opinions would differ on that. But I don't think that gap is as high. And, football, there's not really women's football, so we'll just go over that part. But you do see on social media, it is made fun of, just that it's not high quality basketball or this and that. But the Final Four of this year, of LSU, Iowa. See, I'm struggling to even name all 4 teams, but I believe it was LSU, Iowa, Virginia Tech, and I believe it was Maryland and South Carolina. I just proved my point right there. Well, those are the Final Four in women's basketball, and it was fun to watch. It was great games, and it got even chippy in the championship game between Iowa and LSU with Caitlin Clark and Asia Reese. And Angel Reese came out on top for the Tigers, and they won the championship. And Caitlin Clark had a terrible game, got a technical, and definitely some trash talk, some pointing to the ring finger because they were going to win the ship. And a lot of people liked that, and a lot of people didn't. Kind of saying that women basketball is trying to act like male players with their trash talk, and they should hold themselves to a higher standard. Which, if we start talking about that, it gets very sexist and just is not held to an equal playing field. But if people actually show respect and don't show a bias watching those championship games, it's high-level basketball, and it was a sellout, and it's not as bad as we make it out to be in many cases.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here, and that's all we've got for you.